Well, good morning, folks. Jason here from God Conversations here in Medicine Hat. I finished Deuteronomy the other day, and I'm into Joshua. And I want to share with you the story of Rahab. You've heard me talk about Rahab many times. If you know the genealogy of Jesus in the book of Matthew, chapter 1, you'll see that Rahab is a great-great-great-grandmother of Jesus. Rahab was not an Israelite by birth. She was a Canaanite. She was the madam of a brothel and probably ran a tavern at the same time. But it's not specifically Rahab herself. We're going to talk about her, but a symbol that she was to put out of her window that I want to talk about. So instead of me reading the whole story to you, I want to just jump right in. Let me kind of summarize. There's two spies that that Joshua sent in, not Moses. Joshua sent in to spy out Jericho. Now Jericho was to be fully devoted to destruction. It was to be devoted to the Lord. It was every man, woman, child, beast, and structure was to be fully destroyed. And Rahab housed these two spies. And she said, in verse 8, before the men lay down, she came up to them on the roof and said to them, I know that the Lord has given you the land, and that the fear of you has fallen upon us, and that all the inhabitants of the land melt away before you. For we have heard how the Lord dried up the water of the Red Sea before you when you came out of Egypt, and what you did to the two kings of the Amorites who were beyond the Jordan, to Sihon and Og, whom you devoted to destruction. And as soon as we heard it, our hearts melted, and there was no spirit left in any man because of you. For the Lord your God, he is the God of the heavens above and on the earth beneath. Now then, please swear to me by the Lord that as I have dealt kindly with you, you also will deal kindly with my father's house, and give me a sure sign that you will save alive my father and mother, my brothers and sisters, and all who belong to them, and deliver our lives from death. So here's the deal. Every person that lived in Jericho knew what God did, and they were so frightened that their hearts melted and no spirit was left in them. Maybe you've been to that point before in your life where it was just utter internal devastation. Rahab felt that too. However, she turned to God when the rest of the town did not. And so the Israelite spy said, yeah, we will spare you, but you need to show a sign. And this sign is, in verse 18, behold, when we come into the land, you shall tie this scarlet cord in the window through which you let us down, and you shall gather into your house your father and mother, your brothers, and all your father's household. Then if anyone goes out of the doors of your house into the street, his blood shall be on his own head, and we shall be guiltless. But if a hand is laid on anyone who is with you in the house, his blood shall be on our head. So Rahab, when they came to destroy Jericho, hung this red cord, this scarlet cord, out the window. Now, what is the significance of this scarlet cord? Well, we have to go back to the book of Leviticus, and specifically in Leviticus 14. So let's jump back there. And it's very interesting. Let me read 14, verse 1 to 4. The Lord spoke to Moses, saying, This shall be the law of the leprous person for the day of cleansing. He shall be brought to the priest, and the priest shall go out of the camp, and the priest shall look. Then if the case of leprous disease is healed in the leprous person, the priest shall command them to take for him who is to be cleaned 2 live clean birds, and cedar wood, and scarlet yarn, and hyssop. And the priest shall command them to kill one of the birds in an earthenware vessel over fresh water. He shall take the live bird with the cedar wood and the scarlet yarn and the hyssop, and dip them and the live bird in the blood of the bird that was killed over the fresh water. And he shall sprinkle it 7 times on him who is to be cleansed of the leprous disease. And he shall pronounce him clean, and shall let the living bird go into the open field. And he who is cleansed shall wash his clothes, shave off all his hair, and bathe himself in water, and he shall be clean. Okay. So we're talking about leprous diseases here. Nowhere in the book of Joshua does it say that Rahab had a leprous disease. However, this whole community was to be fully destroyed. Why? Because they had spiritual leprosy. And the whole community was supposed to be sacrificed. One person was allowed to live, her plus who's ever in her household. So one household is allowed to live. Kind of like these 2 birds. The cleansing of spiritual leprosy, and that scarlet robe was to be there. Now here's something very interesting. What else was supposed to be in that leprosy cleaning? Hyssop. A hyssop branch. I want to talk to you a little bit about King David. You may not know this, but King David is the great-grandson of Rahab. And in Psalm 51:7, David is praying to God and saying, Purify me with hyssop, that I may be clean before you. David didn't have leprosy. But he still needed to be cleaned on the inside. This scarlet robe, what else was supposed to be done? Something to do with sprinkling 7 times, right? If you remember, when the Israelites went to go take Jericho, which is chapter 6, sorry, I believe. Is it chapter 6? Yeah, in chapter 6, they were supposed to walk around Jericho 7 times. And it would fall. The walls would fall. So what am I getting at? This is what I'm getting at. The scarlet robe signifies the cleansing of Rahab, just like the hyssop, Rahab's great-grandson, David, signified his cleansing. This is a cleansing of the heart, a cleansing of God. Something only God can do. Cleansing your spiritual leprosy, if you will. Whenever we start to look at things like this in the Old Testament, you got to treat it like a slingshot. What you need to do is you need to pull that slingshot back, go back into the law, and then you let that slingshot go into the future, into the New Testament. And we see here Jesus is the one that fully cleanses us on the inside. So the scarlet rope and the hyssop has everything to do with the proving of her spiritual cleansing. Hope that makes sense. Have a great day.